Dragons Awakening, the Duke's Son is changing the plot. Chapter 14, One Against All, Part 1. The cradle was silent. Not the gentle kind of silence that brings peace, but the suffocating weight of it. The silence that presses against the chest and makes breathing hard. The once cocky heir of Ros Vaise lay face first on the ground, his pride shattered and scattered like broken glass. Rufus Ros Vaise, who had strutted into the arena with arrogance stitched into every step, now looked no different than discarded trash left underfoot. He had fallen. The air itself seemed to recoil, the echoes of impact still hanging in the air. The audience, young heirs and heirs-to-be of noble families, felt their throats dry. Some wanted to laugh, some wanted to jeer, but fear held them back. For they had seen it. Raven's hand, his strike, his effortless dismantling of Rufus. Raven stood there with his hands in his pockets, a boy draped not in armor or shining titles, but in a calm so deep it felt dangerous. His gaze lingered on Rufus with neither pity nor hatred, only a faint sigh escaping his lips. When his voice came, it was casual, almost lazy, yet sharper than a blade. Oi, the word cut the silence. Rufus stirred, shame burning on his skin. Raven tilted his head, his voice quiet but carried across the cradle, as if the world itself bent to let his words through. How long do you plan to stay like that? It's hard to watch. Even I'm starting to feel embarrassed for you. A ripple went through the gathered crowd. Stifled laughter bubbled in throats, awkward and dangerous, yet impossible to contain. The absurdity of the sight, the arrogant air reduced to a beaten figure, tugged at even the most disciplined lips. Rufus trembled. Heat flooded his cheeks, not from Raven's fist, but from humiliation that clung to his very bones. The air was suffocating, heavy with the weight of eyes on him. Somewhere in the stands, laughter broke, light and careless, Alex trying too hard to appear bold, Clara's soft giggle like bells ringing, and Jake's quiet shake of the head. And Rufus snapped. Rage boiled, his voice sharp and raw as he spat out a curse. But the sound never finished. The crack of flesh against flesh echoed like thunder, sharp and merciless. Raven's hand had moved before words could leave Rufus's mouth, the slap landing with brutal simplicity. Rufus's head twisted violently to the side, his balance crumbling, his body stumbling backward. Time slowed. His eyes widened. He looked into Raven's gaze, sharp, cold, indifferent. Yet within that indifference, something else glimmered. Pity. And that cut deeper than the strike itself. Rufus's pride shrieked inside him, demanding defiance, demanding denial. Yet he knew. The truth clawed at him, undeniable and cruel. Raven's strikes were not flamboyant. They were not meant for spectacle. They were simple, clean, devastatingly precise. For all his life, Rufus had believed in the supremacy of Ros Vaise blood, in the superiority passed down through his family name. And now that belief lay cracked at his feet. Twice humiliated, twice struck down. Not even a single hit landed in return. And Raven only sighed. You still think you're stronger, don't you? The words rang with no malice, no arrogance, just a quiet acknowledgement of truth. Rufus's fists clenched, his nails biting into flesh. He wanted to deny it, to scream that he was superior. But his heart stuttered, knowing he couldn't. Then Raven's lips curled into a smirk, and his words chilled the air. The only reason you still have your badge is because I gave you the chance. A pause. Rufus blinked, stunned. One fight, Raven continued, his voice spread through the cradle, making hearts skip and breaths catch. Bring as many as you want. Fight me together. Gasps erupted like a storm. Murmurs crashed through the silence. Faces turned, shocked, wide-eyed. Instructors exchanged glances. Impossible, reckless, arrogant. Yet the boy in the ring stood firm, his smirk widening into a grin. If I lose, Raven said, calm as ever, I'll step out. I'll forfeit the right of challenge. The silence that followed was heavier than before. This was no ordinary gamble. It was a knife pressed to his own throat, offered willingly. Normally, even if one lost a fight against multiple opponents, the rules counted it as one match. But Raven's condition changed everything. If he fell here, he would not rise again. His entire journey would end before it began. All for one challenge. All to prove something. The audience could not decide if they were witnessing arrogance or destiny. Rufus turned, bewildered, toward Instructor Gale, silently begging for guidance. Gale's eyes, sharp and weary, narrowed on Raven. He studied the boy's calm, the confidence that seemed more like madness. His voice, when it came, was low and questioning. Are you sure about this? You won't regret it? The words hung heavy. Raven's grin widened. Once I commit, I don't even listen to myself. Gale rubbed his temple, a sigh slipping free. Arrogant brat. Yet beneath the scolding tone was curiosity, even a spark of anticipation. Perhaps they were about to witness a legend being born. Rufus's heart pounded, exhilaration flooding him. His lips stretched into a wild grin, and he bolted toward the other participants. His chance had come, his redemption wrapped in Raven's madness. In the shadows of the judges, whispers brewed. Vance sneered, satisfied, claiming Raven's choice was desperate overcompensation, the last gasp of a boy who knew he could not match the true elites. Damien remained silent, his frown heavy, his gaze never leaving Raven. Raven was a mystery, he thought. But mysteries did not move without reason. The cradle shifted, the air tense as Rufus returned. And he was not alone. 10 figures followed, their footsteps echoing like drums of war. Their expressions ranged from smirks to grim determination. 10 against 1, an impossible number. Rufus stood at the front, grin blazing, pride resurrected by borrowed strength. His voice was loud, mocking, triumphant. Surprised? Regretting it now? But Raven did not smirk. He smiled, a slow, amused, genuine smile, the kind of smile that carried no fear, no hesitation, only certainty. He stepped forward. The crowd stirred, breath caught in their throats as they watched the boy walk toward his challengers, each step thickening the air. Rufus's grin twitched, unease creeping in. He demanded to know what Raven was planning, but no answer came. The silence was broken by wind. A howl. A blur. The fist struck. Smash! Rufus's body bent unnaturally, his face colliding with Raven's knuckles once more. The déjà vu struck cruelly as the world spun, pain detonating in his jaw. He flew, airborne helpless, before crashing against the ground with a thunderous thud. The cradle erupted in disbelief. Again. The same way. The same humiliation. Rufus clawed at the ground, rage and shame tearing through him. He surged forward, desperate to re-enter the ring, but Instructor Gale's voice fell like a guillotine. Enough. The command froze Rufus in place. His voice shook with fury. I can still. You lost your badge. Gale's tone was final, merciless. You're out. The words hit harder than any blow. Rufus's breath stilled, his eyes dropped to his chest. Empty. His badge was gone. And there, across the ring, Raven twirled it casually between his fingers. Don't blame me, he said, voice calm, almost playful. Your role is over. Rufus's throat burned, rage strangling his voice. His heart screamed as he turned toward the others, desperation drowning his pride. Crush him! And so the battle began. The cradle quaked. The crowd roared. And Raven only smiled.